Hi everyone, and welcome to my presentation video for my Permaculture Design Certificate through the Permaculture Women's Guild. I'd like to say a big huge thanks to Heather Jo Flores for being my mentor and also the creator of this course. The content put together by Heather and all the other teachers has been brilliant, and I greatly appreciate the time and effort that's been put into the content. I have based my design on my property in Willatook, Victoria, Australia, which I own with my mum and sister. It is a 130-acre farm, and we're looking forward to regenerating it and altering it based on the design. We've called our business Hives, Hooves and Hens, based on the whole systems approach. We believe that hives, hooves and hens is going to have a big, huge impact on the farm and help to regenerate it. We've got 3 beehives at the moment, and that's bringing in the pollinators, plus also the honeybees for pollination of fruit trees and the veggie patch. Hooves we're going to have in the form of pigs, cattle and sheep, and we're just going to find a balance which works with those. And hens, we're going to have paddock chickens running around, scratching up the manure, eating larvae and bugs, crickets over summer, and we're also going to have hens closer to the farm in the form of, closer to the house in the form of ducks and chickens in the old stables. My presentation document is about 74 pages long, so I'm not going to go through everything in this presentation video, and I'm going to try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. There is a lot of information, but you're more than welcome to look at the PDF document to get further information based on, or reach out to me and I can discuss things further with you. I originally wasn't born in this small country town called Willatook. I was actually born in Melbourne. So it's a very different lifestyle, very different change of pace. It's been a great experience getting to know the locals and starting to get to know country living and also farming lifestyle. This is a picture of me feeding, well, not feeding, but we've been feeding out some calves to gain some experience for livestock. And these I'm just giving some extra attention that weren't not quite healthy little calves. So I'm just giving them some extra love and helping them to keep going. We have a few different goals, and I've sort of broken them up into the house goals and farm goals. The one thing for the house area that we're wanting to have is a nice area that we can sit and relax and enjoy. So we can be outside on the farm working hard, we come back in, we sit down, we enjoy it. Farm goals mainly is we wanted to regenerate the land. We've had the land leased out for 6 years and the tenant has just degraded it. So we wanted to regenerate it, create a whole ecosystem and just have a thriving countryside. Got a few maps, so I'll go through some of them with a bit of details, some with non-details at all. So this is the base map for the house land. The house land is 91 acres. We've got 2 parcels of land, and this is the first parcel. The paddocks are broken up into about 5 acres, which sort of works, but I'm just going to break that up into further details. This is the smaller, more detailed base map for zone 1 and 2. Being such a big property, I just found it was a lot easier to break it down into a smaller section to provide more details for zone 1 and 2. This is our second parcel of land, which is the east land, which is across the road from the house land. This doesn't have a lot of infrastructure on it. The paddocks are there. Most of the paddocks are divided up to about 5 acres, except for this big, huge one here, which I'm going to divide up further. This is the zones for the house land, the existing zones, and this is the proposed zones. This is the east land existing zones, and this is the east land proposed zones. So this is the design that I've come up with for the house land. As you can see, I'm dividing the paddocks up into further and creating about a 1.25 acre paddocks. And I'm also putting in this track system, which is for ease and convenience of moving stock around. It also gives me the benefit of the paddocks not actually ready for grazing. I can just move them on to the next paddock and select and move them around. It's also giving me a chance to give the paddocks a break and a rest, and give them long periods of rest. Also looking at putting in a berry patch up here near the house area, and I'm also looking at an accommodation area in the form of like camping, tiny homes, things like that. I'm not sure whether council regulations will let us have that, but we'll see what we can do. Based on the designs, I've broken it for zone 1 and 2. I've broken it down into small little sections, so I'll go through those now with you. So this is the house enlargement area. So this is just going to be a private area for us as the homeowners to enjoy, to sit back and relax. Planning on building this pergola veranda thing outside of the dining room so that we can come out, sit down out here in the middle of the summer, have a barbecue and enjoy and relax. I'm planning on putting raised garden beds around this sort of area so that I can put in easy pick crops that we can grab from the house and put in our food. So herbs, salad greens, kale, silver beet, those sort of things. I can just go out from the kitchen, grab it, come back in, saves going out here in the dark to the veggie patch. We also have our effluent dispersal lines for our septic tank out in this section, which gives us a nice big huge green grass area, which helps with the bushfire and grass fire threat in the middle of summer. So having a green grass will give a fire break and sort of protect the house just a little bit more. Also, this nice big huge green grassed area is a great area for the dogs to run around and enjoy. We're just making a few other garden bed areas, redeveloping those sort of areas. This is another private area, the avenue and the garden enlargement map, which is quite close to the house being here. This will be just another area that we can just go out and enjoy. It will end up eventually being a full-on garden area instead of, we'll eradicate all the lawn which is in this area. Planning on putting in a little bit of a food foresty thing for native produce. We've got a nice eucalypt here, so I'm thinking I can put in some Australian native bush tucker food, and we can enjoy that and we can put into teas and food and stuff like that. We also have a couple of garden areas which are fantastic for the pollinators, for bees. So this whole area will end up being turned into a pollinator picking flower, things that you can go and take inside. Okay, this is another area close to the house, so it'll be for our private area. So it's calling it food forest enlargement. So we originally planted a couple of avocados in this area. This is our only frost-free area. It had some existing fruit, deciduous trees. So we thought we'd just try putting in a couple of avocados in and around this area to see whether we could get them growing. We were lucky and we were able to, so we planted an extra couple, and then we decided to add some extra fruit, and we'll just keep growing this and make it a nice food area for us to come out and pick from. The veggie patch enlargement map. So this is where our original veggie patch has been placed. It's not as easy and convenient. If I knew about permaculture when we first put in this veggie patch, it certainly wouldn't be here, which is why we're going to put produce closer to the house. We're just going to develop this whole area so that we can turn it into produce. We're going to have garden beds with mulch paths, try to get as much produce out of this whole area so that we can turn it into produce that we can sell for chutneys and things like that. We've also got a stable area here. We aren't horse people, so what we're going to do is convert this into chicken coops, and then we can then let the chickens go out into the berry patch. We've also got this dairy here, so the old dairy, and we're going to convert this into a commercial kitchen so we can use the produce from the farm and turn it into jams and preserves and things. So the water tank enlargement area, when we moved here, we put in a big, huge water tank, 130,000 litres. This was collecting the house and also collecting from the sheds. We ended up finding out that we had way more water that we could collect. This water tank overflowed for quite a few years. So we decided that we would put in another water tank. So it again means that we've got water that we can send out to the orchard, send out to the veggie patch, and also to the proposed berry patch. I'm planning on putting a little shade house in this area so I can grow things in the greenhouse and then move them to here and have them ready for planting out in autumn when we get the autumn breaks. This is our orchard that we've been working on for the last few years. I'm planning on putting in the last few fruit trees this year, and then I'm sort of planning on sort of making each row sort of more of a guild for each fruit tree, so putting them borage and comfrey and some of those pollinators and insectivorous plants, and planning on getting in some sheep netting and letting the sheep come in and eat the cover crops so that we can have a bit of protection from snakes and things over summer, and the sheep are going to absolutely love the cover crop. These are the plants that we've put into the orchard, and this is the design for the Eastland. I'm planning on putting in a little holding section here so that when I'm planning on moving stock from across the road to here, I can hold them in here, or moving stock from here across the road. I've got an easy way that I can then move them across the road, so it's more safe. Putting in a track system to make things easy for moving stock around. It's also giving me high ground so that I can graze in winter up on some high ground. This is a sector overview for the house land. As you can see, based on this green, we have a big, huge flooding potential for the farm. We take on water from the neighbour, from the Nardu Creek most years, and we've taken on water from the Moyne River here at the back. We've completely gone under 3 times to this potential in about 6 years that we've been here. So it is something that we do need to consider, which is why we're making higher paddocks up in the farm area so that we can graze these higher sections. We also have a nice big huge bushfire threat from the north, so we need to take that into consideration for whatever we do. So Eastland, we've got the same conditions that we need to think of. We've got the bushfire threat or grass fire threat that comes from the north. We've also got flooding potential from the adjoining owners, flooding potential from the creek on the south, and this is the flooding potential that can occur throughout. And this is the worst flooding potential with flood work we've had. This is the water system design for the house land. Based on the orange, this is the existing system with troughs off that line. This can take a significant amount of time to go and check every trough if there happens to be a leak. So I'm planning on decommissioning this system and changing it so that there's a line down the track system. And I'm planning on putting in removable troughs or movable troughs so that I can move it around the farm and probably put in 2 or 3 different removable troughs, just so it makes it easier for finding leaks. I can turn off a tap, put it on a tap on each of these lines, and I can turn off this line if there's a problem with it, and we can still use this line here. Can move a trough to somewhere else, and just makes life a little easier instead of having to spend hours looking for possible leaks. So this is the water system for the house. So we've got the effluent dispersal lines. We've got the water that's collected from the house to the rainwater tanks, water collected from the sheds to the rainwater tanks, and also how it goes out into certain areas for use. We've got a bore here, which is predominantly used for water for the livestock. So this goes out to, this goes to a holding tank, and then it goes out to the farm, or it goes across the road to the farm across the road. This is the water system for the Eastland. This is predominantly fed by a windmill bore, and then with the backup from the bore from the house land. This is our existing line for water, which I'm planning on probably keep this line, but I'll take away the troughs and put in a removable trough and add the removable troughs and new lines down the track system. This is the edges for the house land, the edges for the zone 1 and 2, so the house section, and the edges for the Eastland. This is the microclimates for the house land. We have a nice big huge wet area here. This we get in the middle of winter. So we've just got to be careful that we don't graze this area, as it can get boggy very quickly. We've got another wet area from water that comes in from the adjoining owner. We have full day sun here in most of this area, so we're wanting to put in some more trees to provide more shade. And we've got a bit of shade that is from existing tree plantations in and around the farm. This is the microclimates for the house section, zone 1 and 2. This is our only frost-free areas, which is why we've used it as the food forest and put in some more delicate plants. We get a lot of full day sun in most of the areas. We get a bit of afternoon shade in some sections. This is the microclimates for Eastland. So I've got a bit of shade in a couple of sections, but predominantly most of it is all sun. This is the patterns and flows throughout the farm. This is the built environment for the house. We've done renovations on the house for the last couple of years, still got a few more things to do. We had this original kitchen here with a little shocking extension, which we've gone and removed now. The kitchen ended up having 3 ceilings, which we ended up getting rid of, and we're extending it back to its original height. The kitchen was very hot over summer and was very unpleasant to cook anything in there in the middle of summer. We've relocated the bathroom and we've moved the bedroom. This dining room sitting area used to get the hot westerly sun in the middle of summer and it would boil. Then it got no sun over winter and we would freeze. So we've decided that using it and changing it and putting in a bedroom, putting in the mudroom and moving the laundry to here and putting in the toilet made this more of a usable space. So any sun, it doesn't matter, it's because it's only coming through small windows now. The bedroom is so much more comfortable than having a very cold, freezing dining room. So we've put the new bathrooms being relocated to here. We've been able to make it slightly bigger and put in a bath, which is going to help us when we're out in the middle of lambing in winter, keeping an eye on stock. We can come in, have a nice warm bath and warm back up again. So we put the kitchen and dining room together here on the north. This is going to use the aspect of the summer sun, and we're going to provide an arbor out here and a veranda and provide summer shade. And then the winter sun we can bring in and warm this space. We've also got a wood stove here, so we could do all our cooking for about 8 months of the year. It also heats all our hot water for 8 months of the year as well. We re-weatherboarded the whole house. It is a 100-year-old house, so it was very cold and drafty. So we've re-weatherboarded it and been able to put in insulation in all the walls. We've also put insulation in the ceiling, and it's making it a nice, comfortable house now. So the built environment for the farm buildings, we are changing the stable into chicken coops, which then the chickens get access into the berry patch. We're going to change the dairy into a bit of a workshop area, a bit of a shop, bit of an office and a commercial kitchen space. We've got great shedding facilities and we're just going to change a few of the uses for some of them and keep them as they are. Social and visible structures, you can have a look at this at your own time if you need. Technology, transportation and energy, the same thing. Animal waste and nutrient cycle. This is probably one of the most important things we can do on the farm. We're wanting to create a closed loop system as much as possible. It's going to be more difficult for the house for anything we bring back in, but we're hoping to be able to eliminate most of the waste that comes from the house. Any animal manure from sheep or cattle, we're hoping that we can process that in a way so that either gets left on the farm and fertilizes the farm. The chickens can then scratch it up as they go around the farm. But anything from the yards area, we're hoping to be able to collect and that we can put into a worm farm or put into a compost system so that we can create fantastic compost, fantastic worm manure or worm castings, and then we can make compost teas and worm teas and then spread them out over the farm. So certain things end up going with the veggie patch. We add that into the compost. We add that into the worm farm. Same with the duck and the chicken coop bedding. We'll either make a compost based on that or add it into the worm farm, or the duck bedding we can spread out over the orchard. So we're just sort of closing the loop and using all the resources that we possibly can from the farm. So chicken scraps goes into the compost, the worm farm, and then those all goes out. Worm castings go out into the veggie patch, or we turn the worm castings into a tea, spread it out over the farm. So this is a map showing the things that we're planning on doing for the next few years. So the main areas that we're wanting to work on is finishing the house and getting this veranda and some raised garden beds put in and around the house. Out here in the farm, we're working on the rain garden, which is a nice huge wet area that we're hoping to be able to eliminate and make the most of it. We're putting in some raised garden beds here, mulching areas, putting in the chicken coops. Wanting to be able to finish the orchard this year, plus also we're putting in ducks into the back of here in an old shed, so we're hoping to be able to get that done this year as well. Hoping to get the shade house built so that we can start getting some plants out into the farm. Wanting to finish this area off here, putting a bit of a shelter area. Wanting to create a bit of a track system on the farm to make it a little easier for the livestock to get into the yards. We're also wanting to put in this holding yard so we can hold stock there. Next year, we've got a few more projects on the plan. I want to go through these. You can do this at your own leisure if you like. So this is some information that I've compiled while going through the course. So there's a list of species that we've got on the farm. This is ever changing. I pretty much, make a list and I find some more things a day later, which is great because it means we are changing. We're getting more birds, we're getting more insects, which is fantastic. Components list, which was something we sort of put together at the beginning of the course. And some of this has changed, some of this I've put in, and some of it will end up just not being part of it or being added at a later date. So this is what we designed when we did the first whole system design. It's how everything connects and what we were thinking of doing and what we wanted to do. So for the house and also for the farm. Stakeholder interviews, I did an interview on myself. I asked my sister to compile some information, my sister Rebecca, and my mum Jan. So some observations that I took note of. So this is the flooding potential of the farm. As you can see, this is why we need to get some higher paddocks, as this can occur 3 or 4 times every 6 years. So it's a regular occurrence that we need to take into consideration. We're a temperate climate here. We have an average rainfall of about 700 mils. Most of that rain comes over winter. We get a bit of spring rain and we get very little. So more of the Mediterranean climate, so we get very little over summer. I got some soil reports done so I could understand what was going on, and then I got someone to analyse it all so I had a better understanding of what was going on. I also did a soil health check to check what was going on. We were pretty poor in most of it, so it's something that we're going to have to improve. Some pictures that I've taken, some photos that I've taken while doing the observation section of the course and during the years being here. These paddocks were treated badly by the tenant, and as you can see, middle of winter, cattle have been left in this paddock for way too long and they've pugged it all up. So we've got to rebuild the fertility back in these paddocks. This is just water lying on it, tractor marks just making a heck of a mess in the paddocks. So this is the flood we had last year, and as you can see how much can end up the middle of the farm. You can end up not seeing the fence posts. So you're probably looking at least 1.2 metre deep flood. So something we've got to take into consideration and be cautious of. Around the house area, we do flood, but most of this will end up being eliminated by putting water tanks on the garage on the other side of this hedge. So these are just samples of soil, so we can see what root depth we have and what sort of things were going on. These are ibis who are here in the middle of summer, and we've had them for the last 2 years, which is something new. They're eating our crickets, which is a nice natural way of controlling crickets, which is fantastic. These are resources that we've got from the farm. This is the implementation list that I'm planning on implementing over the next 10 years. It's not going to be a slow process, but being the scale, we can't do it all overnight, unfortunately. This is the maintenance plan. So what we're sort of thinking will take time. This will all be changed and altered depending on what we find and learn. And then my evaluation of the course. I'd like to say thank you for watching my presentation video. If you'd like to reach out to me, I can provide you any more information should you require it. Many thanks.